found it in my heart to return her savage pleasantries with interest. As I raised my hands to my burning eyes, Fletcher uttered a sharp cry of pain. I turned in time to see the girl touch him lightly on the neck with the burning tip of her cigarette. "You jealous, eh, Charlie?" she said. "But I love you too, see? Come along, you strong fellers." And away she went along the passage, swaying her hips lithely and glancing back over her shoulders in smiling coquetry. Tears were still streaming from my eyes when I found myself standing in a sort of rough shed, stone paved and containing a variety of nondescript rubbish. A lantern stood upon the floor, and beside it the place seemed to be swimming around me, the stone floor to be heaving beneath my feet. Beside the lantern stood a wooden chest, some 6 feet long and having strong rope handles at either end. Evidently the chest had but recently been nailed up. As Zarmi touched it lightly with the pointed toe of her little red slipper, I clutched at Fletcher for support. Fletcher grasped my arm in a vice-like grip. To him, too, had come the ghastly conviction, the gruesome thought that neither of us dared to name. It was Nayland Smith's coffin that we were to carry. "Through here," came dimly to my ears, "and then I tell you what to do." Coolness returned to me, suddenly, unaccountably. I doubted not for an instant that the best friend I had in the world lay dead there at the feet of the hellish girl who called herself Zarmi. I knew it, since it was she, disguised, who had driven him to his doom, that she must have been actively concerned in his murder. But, I argued, although the damp night air was pouring in through the door which Zarmi now held open, although sound of Thameside activity came stealing to my ears, we were yet within the walls of the Joy Shop, with a score or more Asiatic ruffians at the woman's beck and call. With perfect truth I can state that I retain not even a shadowy recollection of aiding Fletcher to move the chest out on to the brink of the cutting, for it was upon this that the door directly opened. The mist had grown denser, and except a glimpse of slowly moving water beneath me, I could discern little of our surrounding. So much I saw by the light of a lantern which stood in the stern of a boat. In the bows of this boat I was vaguely aware of the presence of a crouched figure enveloped in rugs, vaguely aware that 2 filmy eyes regarded me out of the darkness. A man, who looked like a lascar, stood upright in the stern. I must have been acting like a man in a stupor, for I was aroused to the realities by the contact of a burning cigarette with the lobe of my right ear. "Hurry, quick, strong fella," said Zarmi softly. At that it seemed as though some fine nerve of my brain, already strained to utmost tension, snapped. I turned with a wild, inarticulate cry, my fists raised frenziedly above my head. "You fiend!" I shrieked at the mocking Eurasian. "You yellow fiend of hell!" I was beside myself, insane. Zarmi fell back a step, flashing a glance from my own contorted face to that, now pale even beneath its artificial tan, of Fletcher. I snatched the pistol from my pocket, and for one fateful moment the lust of slaying claimed my mind. Then I turned toward the river, and raising the Browning, fired shot after shot in the air. "Weymouth!" I cried. "Weymouth!" A sharp hissing sound came from behind me, a short muffled cry, and something descended, crushing upon my skull. Like a wild cat Zarmi hurled herself past me and leapt into the boat. One glimpse I had of her pallidly dusky face, of her blazing black eyes, and the boat was thrust off into the waterway, was swallowed up in the mist. I turned dizzily to see Fletcher sinking to his knees, one hand clutching his breast. "She got me with the knife," he whispered, "but don't worry. Look to yourself and him." He pointed weakly, then collapsed at my feet. I threw myself upon the wooden chest with a fierce sobbing cry. "Smith! Smith!" I babbled, and knew myself no better in my sorrow than an hysterical woman. "Smith, dear old man, speak to me! Speak to me!" Outraged emotion overcame me utterly, and with my arms thrown across the box, I slipped into unconsciousness. Chapter 9.